Hello and welcome back to Podcasting as Praxis. I'm David. I'm here with a shortened cast of Jamie.
All right.
And Rob.
Hello.
And we're going to do some cultural committee shit. I decided I wanted to do a cultural committee and didn't offer an idea for a cultural committee, so Jamie steamed in with, fuck it, time loops, and here we are.
Or are again.
Yeah, or are again, indeed, yes. Jamie, what did you watch for this? What gave you the fucking idea for this?
The two most recent things I've watched were Palm Springs and Boss Level, which are both time loop stories with like fairly wildly different tones.
Right, okay.
Palm Springs, Andy Samberg is stuck in a time loop at a wedding that he's only there. He's like it's one of those weddings where he's at the wedding because his girlfriend knows the people involved.
Oh Jesus!
And so he's just kind of like trapped in this fucking hellscape. And he accidentally like imprisons like someone else.
In a time loop.
In the time loop with them. And they like sort of just fucking, do you know what I mean? Learn how to cope with the unbearable fucking like agonies of life, basically. Is the long and the short of it. It's very good. I really enjoyed it. It has some sort of like surprisingly fucking interesting questions to ask about like the nature of things. And it doesn't waste like the first hour of the film setting up. Do you know what I mean? It just hits the fucking ground running. Which is really the only fucking like way to handle this sort of shit, I think, in this day and age. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, my theory about all time travel and time loops in particular is the moment you start trying to explain how it works, it gets worse by the fucking second.
I mean, yeah, probably like. But yeah, like you don't want to spend like the first hour of the film just sort of like setting up like, oh, here's the fucking main character, here's what they're like doing, and oh no, now they're in a time loop. Oh, let's do the whole thing again, but this time, well, they sort of like look at everything and go, huh? Do you know what I mean? Like, so we didn't get any of that, but I would definitely recommend that one. It's basically like what if a millennial got like granted immortality? Do you know what I mean? And it's just, and he just pisses it up the wall, fucking around, basically. Do you know what I mean? It's quite entertaining to watch. And Boss Level was surprisingly good. It's directed by Joe Carnahan, who did the A-Team movie. Among other fucking greats.
Was that great? I barely remember that.
Oh yeah, I fucking love the A-Team movie. It's just, you know, it's a film version of the A-Team. What the fuck do you want from it? Do you know what I mean? They fly a tank. It's great.
Yeah, that's all I remember. All I remember is the flying tank and just finding it slightly, even for an A-Team movie, finding it slightly overboard. But that, I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, the A-Team.
Don't want time travel explained, but you're not willing to overlook a fucking flying tank.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, I mean, different context.
But yeah, he also did like Narc and Smoking Aces.
Oh yeah.
So he's generally like a very fucking high octane filmmaker, I think is the polite way to put it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right.
if you stop and think for a long time about any of his films, they don't make like a huge amount of sense. But
yeah,
they're when you watch them, it's very easy to get like caught up in it. So anyway, Boss Level is Frank Grillo is like a fucking just like your generic action guy, and he's stuck in a time loop where like some assassins are murdering him. And every day he like wakes up and he gets like fucking murdered by like one or more of these assassins who are all just like, you know what I mean, like irritatingly quirky. You know, there's a woman with a sword, and there's like a dwarf guy with explosives, and there's two like women that chase him, like two Nazi women, and like, do you know what I mean?
Just Gibson, apparently.
Yeah, there's two big problems with the film. The first is that it has Australia's answer to Sean Connery in it, which just isn't necessary. Do you know what I mean? Like he's the villain, and it's just you could have just gotten any cunt to do that role. Do you know what I mean? It's like he has one like sort of threatening monologue that he delivers to Naomi Watts. You could have just anyone could have done that. You know what I mean? And then the other thing is his henchman is Will Sasso, who's like a Canadian comedian.
Right.
And he's like great. If anyone's ever seen that, there's a Sum 41 music video where at the start he plays like a music executive. The band all come into his office and he's on the phone and he's like, "Oh, I've got to go. I think I'm about to get mugged." And he just spends like 2 minutes just ripping shit out of the band and forcing them to start smoking and all this sort of stuff. And it's great. And so he should, like, as far as I'm concerned, he should be in more stuff. But he's given about like 4 lines of dialogue in this film. And you could have solved both those problems by just binning Mel Gibson and making him the villain. Do you know what I mean? But if you ignore like the sort of like, do you know what I mean, the presence of like fucking Hitler Jr., then it's actually like quite a good film. Frank Grillo is for a man who just does mountains of like direct-to-video horse shit. He is like always good to watch. Do you know what I mean? He deserves better, quite frankly. He's just like he brings real sort of like charm and pathos to the story of like fucking. Do you know what I mean?
He does have a really like interesting face as well. I find. I don't know why that is, but he does have one. Yeah,
but like so he's being killed by these assassins and he has to figure it out. And it at its core, it's a film about speed running.
I was going to say, is it not just Deathloop the movie, or like is Deathloop just a video game adaptation of that?
Probably. I mean, I know nothing about Deathloop, other than it presumably involves death in a loop.
Yeah, and it's assassins as well. It sounds like that.
Yeah, but it's like again, we start in the time loop. You know, it's like loop something. I can't remember the number, but it's like, you know, it tells you on screen. It's like this number, and the whole thing start like when it comes up telling you which number loop he's in and all this sort of stuff. It comes up in the style of a video game. Like it's very sort of 8-bit font. And it's like, yeah, he basically starts the day and it's like, oh, he can't ever get past this certain point. They always find him by this time and he can't progress. And eventually he figures out how to get further. And then in the, like, you know, spoiler alert, obviously, don't listen to this if you don't want me to tell you, like, the end of all the stuff we're going to talk about. But
should have probably spoiled that at the beginning of this whole recording, but hey.
Yeah, they can just not listen to it on their second time round. Yeah, so like, you know, on the final go round, he just like kills all the assassins and saves the day in like 10 minutes because he's figured out how to sequence break, and it's quite good. Do you know what I mean? It's one of the few films I've seen as well, because he finds that he learns to reconnect with his son throughout the course of the like fucking.
Is that good
days.
though? Because like I always have this. My standard rule is like if there's a child involved for no good reason, then empathy it just tends to be really shit.
Okay, well, I mean, it's not my fault if you want to kill children. You know what I mean? How very Dutch of you.
No, I just want to take them with me in a sack to Spain.
But yeah, no, it's like he reconnects with his son like through the medium of like video games, and it's actually you actually see them playing a game. And not like a fucking made up for the cinema game. Do you know what I mean? Like an actual game that behaves like a real game, and they talk about it like normal people, and it's just treated as like a thing that people do. You know what I mean? The kid doesn't then go on to use his like incredible gaming powers to fucking influence the story in any way, or like hack a mainframe. And it's not, you know what I mean? It's just a film clearly made by people who like games, which is, I think, the first step on the long road to finally getting like good video game adaptations.
Oh, I'm not holding my fucking breath for that.
Well, the problem you have with that now is that like you've seen the way like fucking like writers in Hollywood, like movies and TV, always treat computers in general and video games specifically as this weird fucking thing that like only fucking like, do you know what I mean? Only like the most weird like wizards in their towers can like fucking unravel. And it's whenever someone plays a video game, it's always either like Pac-Man or like, you know, you pick up your Xbox controller and that jacks you directly into the fucking Matrix.
No, it's never just somebody playing fucking Crash Bandicoot and then just moseying off. It's always it's the William Gibson. It's the William Gibson issue, I think, is the best way to describe it. Like, if you have a cyberpunk story, like by William Gibson, it's about how people interact with technology. It's like, you know what I mean? That's what drives the story, is like, here's all this like cool futuristic technology, and here's how people interact with it and like accept it as part of their lives. And that's what makes it like realistic and good. Whereas if you get like a cyberpunk story by like other people, it's just, wow, cool robot arm, you know what I mean? And like you don't learn anything or like see anything, discover anything useful about how people interact with that stuff. It's just, how many people can you shoot to earn a new robot arm with a bigger gun attached to it? You know? And I think like, so once you get more people who actually use computers and don't, you know what I mean? Presumably write all their scripts on a fucking typewriter and still think that anyone that like fucking knows how to like turn a computer on without reading a manual first is like a fucking, you know what I mean? Is a hacker who will just end all civilization on a whim or whatever. I mean, my general thesis is every time they try to convert a video game into a movie, is that then, because movies are much more narrative, right? They're story driven, whereas games are obviously interaction driven. The moment you turn it into a video game is the moment the story has to stand on its own two feet, and video game stories, with like a handful of exceptions, ever fucking do.
There's nothing like, but that's the thing though, I mean, like, it's like, video games have to be interactive, but there's nothing inherently different about the nature of a story. It's like, some games have branching narratives or whatever, but you know, you just have to pick one to settle with. But that's like, there's nothing inherently bad about that. And a lot of games, most games, the story is total horseshit, but then most fucking films are as well, you know what I mean?
That's fair enough. I suppose it's also because like the stuff that's the main headline stuff, the games that gets translated, the games that do get translated into movies are like the big temple ones, and they're all fucking shite. Assassin's Creed being a very good example of the breed, because that's fucking terrible plot, and therefore the movie was also terrible.
Yeah.
Or ones where there's no plot and you just do Doom.
Yeah.
That would be
good.
Maybe
a bad Carl Urban film.
Frank Grillo is the new Carl Urban, actually, when I think about it. Like, do you know what I mean? So I'm waiting for his like career renaissance that puts him in like a Lord of the Ring or something like that.
Yeah.
But maybe one day they'll do a good adaptation of Deathloop then. Who knows? But so like the morals of those two films are like, you know what I mean? If you had immortality, you could just, and there was no, because that's the thing really, like boss level, there are implicit stakes. Do you know what I mean? Like from the moment he wakes up, like he literally is awakened by like someone screaming because an assassin is trying to kill him.
That's the best way to do it, yeah.
Yeah, from the moment he wakes up, he's like deep in the fucking stakes and everything is moving forward. Whereas with Palm Springs, it's much more sort of like, it's a much more real life take on things where like it's just another fucking day and nothing important is happening and nothing matters and he hates being there. It's an incredibly relatable film. Do you know what I mean? It's like it speaks more to the fucking like the average person's experience than a lot of other films. So I definitely recommend watching that.
The whole like just start in the middle of the fucking shit going down is probably the best way to do it. And like it's a classic way to start it, is the original piece of time loop media, the season 5 episode of Star Trek Next Generation, Cause and Effect, displays perfectly, because that just opens up and it's like the Enterprise fucking explodes and then they roll the intro sequence and it's like, okay, my attention has been caught. But no, that's a really fucking simple one. It's everybody gets deja vu a lot and then they finally figure out a way to send a message back and then they stop the loop. And also fucking Fraser's there at the end as well for some reason, like completely pointlessly. He's just got a cameo as a fucking captain. You're like, okay.
Yeah. A lot of people did, didn't they?
Oh yeah,
I'm pretty sure Murdoch from the A-Team turns up at one point.
I think you're right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, in Voyager, there's a Saudi prince that turns up, so... Actually, I'm saying he might not have been Saudi. He was. I'll need to look at that, but it was definitely a Middle Eastern fucking prince. Just got his way onto a cameo role. But yeah, Star Trek's quite light in it as well. I thought there was going to be more episodes, and then I realised that more of them were just like basic time travel shit, which does not count. So there's only really 2 time loop episodes. Well, actually, there's 3 time loop episodes, right? Arguably, one of them isn't. So there's Cause and Effect, which is the one I've just talked about. There's a Star Trek Discovery one with Dwight from The American Office, which is actually quite good.
Yeah, it's the only, like, it's one of the few, like, genuinely good episodes of Discovery, isn't it?
Yeah, because they managed to use it to build a load of character shit up, which is nice, which they hadn't done for, like, the first 6 episodes of the fucking thing. And they also had some fun with it as well.
Rainn Wilson is having a fucking party in that, as I recall.
He's fucking loving it. Yeah. The other one that I'm not entirely sure...
It's the original series one where they land on the planet where everything repeats, isn't it?
Oh, no, okay. I'll be honest, I've never really...
I just made that up because it's just like, it seemed like a safe bet. You know what I mean?
No, the original series is all about them fighting gods. Like, every fucking 5 episodes you get something that's not...
Every fucking episode's a wizard. It's like, what if there was a wizard in space? You know what I mean? Occasionally, it's a child wizard, and then, like, you know, they solve the problem by ringing its mom. It's just like fucking, do you know what I mean? If they can't get Kirk to explain to the wizard, like, the nature of fucking, like, humanity or some shit, they just ring its mom. And then, like, a fucking cloud with a face on it turns up and yells at everyone until, like, the fucking episode ends. It's great. I love original series Star Trek. Unironically, it's fucking, like, insane. You know what I mean? It's basically like, what if Bewitched was an existential horror set on another planet?
Well, the other one that I was going to say that is arguably not a time loop episode is the Voyager 2-parter Year of Hell.
Right.
Which is, like, annoyingly one of the best bits of Voyager because...
Surely the best bit of Voyager was when you tried to install that fucking mod the other week and just like when the game started you were just staring at, like, giant Borg crotch.
Oh, no. That was bad. No, we're sticking to this episode. No, it's a 2-parter and it's like, it's exactly... The 2-parter explores the exact premise that the entire series should have been, which was we're really far away from home and we don't have any friends here and everything gets slowly more fucked up and miserable. But they were too much of a series of cowards to do shit like that, so they rolled it into this 2-parter where time keeps getting altered by this species that's trying to restore their empire. But for the Voyagers, for whatever reason, fucking immune to this. Oh, God, can you imagine if the British Empire had time travel capability?
Maybe it already does.
Oh, fucking hell. Right, well, anyway, this one, they finally figure a way to stop themselves being affected by the timeline getting rewritten. And then they get noticed because that fucks up the plans of the people that are changing time. And then they kind of hunt each other down. And at the end of it, the solution to everything is for Voyager to ram itself into the time ship and reset everything. So arguably it is a loop of a kind.
Wait, so and thereby committing genocide on another race of space aliens?
They weren't like wiped out, they were just like not as big an empire. It wasn't like full on genocide, it was a timeline reset.
Okay. I'm just going to assume that makes it okay. I'm not a Star Trek person, so
yeah, oh no, it's fine, yeah. Captain Janeway does war crimes every second episode anyway, so like it doesn't really chime on that one because that one at least resets. But yeah, that was all I could find in Star Trek. There wasn't really anything else that was actually like a proper time loop.
Yeah, I mean, to explain Star Trek to Rob, it's a lot like the European Union in that they talk it up as like, oh, it's a utopia. We're here to like spread like the noble ideals of peace throughout the galaxy. But every 20 minutes, they're just murdering a bunch of people for sport.
Yeah, that sounds all right. I get it now. That's a fundamental concept, well explained.
Yeah, imagine if the border cops were like given fuel and told to just like explode outwards. It's that.
Frontex and little hovercrafts.
Yeah. So yeah, that was part of my watch of stuff. I watched Edge of Tomorrow, the Tom Cruise film.
See, that's good, but they absolutely fucking like just do not land the ending at all.
No, it's too good. As in, like everything's fine.
Yeah, like they're clearly gearing up for like a heroic sacrifice where he like gives his own life to end the fucking time loop, but also save humanity. And then and the studio were like, "What the fuck? We can't have that." Presumably, anyway. You know, someone involved was presumed because it definitely is aiming towards. And then he like fucking killed himself and saved the world.
Yeah.
And then they swerve at the last second to he killed himself and saved the world, but he like time rewound one last time. Do you know what I mean? Just so that he would like live forever, happily ever after with the woman who presumably doesn't remember he exists now.
Yeah. That
and is also about half his age.
Yeah, but it's a Tom Cruise film, isn't it? So
yeah. I mean, my favorite thing about that whole movie is that apparently they shot scenes with Jeremy Piven in them and then cut them all later. So that's very good to me. That's what makes it an excellent movie.
What you got against Jeremy Piven, like?
He's just a cunt.
Has he done some sort of sex crime I'm unaware of or something like that?
No, I just dislike Jeremy Piven. For general reasons. Do I need to explain everything?
Who is Jeremy Piven for a guy who just doesn't remember the names of people?
He's the shouty agent from Entourage.
I've never seen that.
Have you seen Judgment Night?
No.
Have you seen Smoking Aces?
No.
Fuck's sake! Like I'm struggling to remember anything else. He's in like it feels like there was a good like 10-year period where Jeremy Piven was in everything.
There was a period, yeah. He was also in Rock and Roller, which does not speak well for him.
I mean, who fucking remembers that? Do you know what I mean? Like all Guy Ritchie's films are like a soup. Do you know what I mean? And that I could just look at like a piece, like you could show me a piece of any of his films, and I'd fail to identify which it came from. Do you know what I mean? I'd be like, oh yeah, that's clearly Guy Ritchie.
I don't know.
Like,
I was
which
watching
Guy Ritchie, and I'd be like.
I was watching the first Sherlock Holmes one that he did, which is actually quite good. It's really entertaining. Like it's got really good energy.
I didn't like the first one. The second one's good though.
No, the second one's fucking shite. It's so weird.
Fuck you. The second one is good, right?
Why?
It's good because it's got Jared Harris in it.
Yeah,
and it's like fucking, and it's great. And they don't for the first one. The first one is irritating as fuck because that whole thing where it's like, and then like he fucking works out the fight in his mind palace. And so they show you the fucking like fight with him narrating what he's going to do in like slow motion where it's like, I want to punch this guy in the face now because like fucking statistically being punched in the face hurts and like fucking so on and all the way through this like fight. And then we rewind to the start of the fight and then it happens again exactly as you just saw it. And it's like, what? Do you know what I mean? Whereas in the second one, They just show you flickers of what he's going to do, and then he does it all. And then from that point on, every time he plans out in his mind palace this big fucking a series of events, it goes wrong immediately, which is way more interesting to watch than just having like Robert Downey Jr. narrate why he's going to kick this guy in the balls. Do you know what I mean? It's like, okay.
No, I mean, the second movie is totally really fucking weird. Like, it whiplashes all over the place. Plus the way, like, it treats GRT communities is really fucking, like, eyebrow-raisingly off and racist.
Well, it's a Guy Ritchie film. It's obviously going to be racist as shit. Do you know what I mean? Like,
can I just say I had to Google Jeremy Piven to see if I recognised his face. I don't, but I have found him running a podcast that's talking about Bitcoin. So
okay. Well, then I was even more correct.
Fucking hell!
Fuck's sake. Edge of Tomorrow. There's two really funny things about Edge of Tomorrow in my mind. One of them is the way that they obviously focus grouped shit, and like that's probably where they get the fucking happy ending from. But at the same time, they also it was Edge of Tomorrow, and then the tagline was "Live, Die, Repeat." But that must have tested better as the title in America because that's what they called it in the US. It was either Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat, or just straight up Live, Die, Repeat.
Yeah,
because Edge of Tomorrow was too complicated a fucking name or something.
All I hear when I see that title is that dance track, like Eat, Sleep, Rave, Repeat, Eat, Sleep, Rave, Repeat. Like that's
yes.
That's all I get. It's just like Live, Die, Rave, Repeat, Live, Die, Rave, Repeat. Would have been
I mean, that thing had about 6 titles, as I recall. At one point, it was All You Need Is Kill, which I think might have been the manga it was based on or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the moral of that is that like it's not good enough to save the world. You must also get like you must also like make sure you're looked after, which is not a fucking like great moral, frankly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or you could read it as that, like, heroic sacrifices are always rewarded, which is horse shit and not the point. Do you know what I mean? But,
yeah. The other really fun thing about it is like the way that it starts the film. So it does the fun disaster film. Like, here's a series of fucking cuts for the news that we've made up to tell you about what's going on. It's just fucking just exposition.mp4 lodged at the start of the fucking film. But as it's getting towards the end of it, it's talking about how countries are coming together, and at one point it's got Hillary Clinton. And this is in 2014. So it's heavily fucking leaning on Hillary Clinton's the president now. It's fine. It's so good. I just really, really like that little detail. Yeah. But no, it's not a bad film. One of the guys responsible for it, Christopher McQuarrie, like, he's responsible for a lot of the Mission Impossible films. So obviously there's a lot of the Tom Cruise work.
Which is, I mean, admittedly, is twice as many as anyone else. Although you're just doing 2 more at the minute, so
yeah. Well, that's what I mean.
You will be responsible for fully half of the fucking films by the time they're done.
Yeah.
Christopher McQuarrie is like an interesting filmmaker because he wrote Usual Suspects, and to the best of our knowledge, so at time of recording, is one of the few people involved in that film not outed as a nonce. But then he did like Way of the Gun, which is pretty good. It's incredibly cynical, but it is like it is very entertaining in that sort of like late 90s, early 2000s. I think it's early 2000s, but it's that sort of like era of like miserable crime that sort of, because you like post Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, we had like the sort of like zany crime era of filmmaking, and then that gave way to the like everyone's a miserable bastard and they all hate people like wave of crime for cinema, and it's definitely very good and worth a watch, and it has some like incredibly inventive like action scenes that are handled like fairly differently.
Yeah.
And then
he's also responsible for The Mummy, though.
Oh, I did not know he was responsible for that. Yeah,
the 2017 Mummy, yeah. From the Universal Spookyverse or whatever the fuck it was supposed to be called.
Yeah, he did Jack Reacher. He did the first Jack Reacher film with Tom Cruise. And then since then he's been like Tom Cruise's fucking hype man, basically. I don't know, I'm like maybe like he's maybe like joined the church or some shit, but like he just exclusively works with like fucking Tom Cruise from that point on, I think. I don't know. Was
he was with Tom Cruise before he did Valkyrie in 2008?
Yeah, I was just going to say who did Valkyrie. Yeah, so it was then presumably went. But yeah, they did Jack Reacher, which is sort of all right. But like Jack Reacher has a scene where Tom Cruise is like just like wildly misogynistic towards like a young.
The scene in the bar where he's like, "You're clearly a prostitute and out to get me" or something.
Where the lass is trying to come onto him so that her brothers or someone can like take offense and like beat him up, and his response is to be like insanely misogynistic about the lass. Yeah. And there's a scene at the start of Way of the Gun where they establish beyond all doubt that the two main characters are dickheads. By having them be like wildly fucking like misogynistic, and it like, but luckily that seems not to have like crystallized as a trend in McQuarrie films. And he did Mission Impossible 5, which is shit. Just fucking, it's just a series of things that happen, and none of them have any weight. Again? 5's the one where. Fucking hell, no. You see this, it's completely forgettable. This is so forgettable. I watched 6, and 6 was like the best action film I'd seen for about 10 years. And I was just like, what the fuck happened there?
Is it Rogue Nation?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was
involved in
where he swims into the fucking underwater tank to replace the hard drive that they keep underwater for some reason. Like, it's just like, oh, what? Sorry, what? Do you know what I mean? This is a problem that you apparently have to solve. You have to go underwater to replace a hard drive. It's just fucking. It's ludicrous. It's like you know what I mean? Like the thing in the first Mission Impossible where he has to like dangle from the fucking wire while being very quiet.
Yeah, which is actually really tense.
He's shagging someone at his mom's house or something like that. You know what I mean? He's just got to like keep it absolutely fucking silent, and not touch the floor. Like that is like ridiculous, but I feel that's kind of at the limit of how like ludicrous a security system is allowed to be before it becomes like impractical and no one would use it. You know what I mean? Because at least like they turn the stuff off when the Gadget's got a cut. Like the Gadget doesn't have to like fucking levitate into the room with these mind powers in total silence or anything, and not sweat or whatever the fuck they're trying to do. But like, if like, oh, your hard drive's fucked, you need to go in, you need to get your diving gear on, and like, but you can't take you need to like a free diver because if a tank, like an oxygen tank, won't fit through the valve or whatever. It's like, what? How the fuck? Like, how's the IT guy supposed to be doing this? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's insane. And there's just a bunch of stuff like that. And it was very hard to care about any of it. And I actually went back and watched 5 again after 6 because I thought, surely I must have misjudged that. And I watched it and I went like, oh no, okay, yeah, it was just bad. So 7 and 8, they're making 7 and 8 at the moment, and could go either way, really.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
He was involved in the 4th one as well.
Was he? What, producer or something?
I'm not sure. Probably, I would assume so.
Yeah, 4 was baffling because they've got that. The villain is the guy from The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Oh yeah,
like the Swedish version,
the good one.
Who was, yeah, the good one.
Yeah.
And it was clearly just like, oh, that guy. He's like, everyone loved that film. We better put him in some stuff, and so he's in it for no reason.
Yeah.
They have some good set pieces, like them sneaking into the Kremlin with the big projector that like tracks the fucking guards' eyes and makes it look like the
that was the
corridors there.
dumbest shit. Yeah, okay, yeah, I like that.
It's great. Like that is amazing. And then there's like him running around the outside of the fucking Burj Khalifa or whatever. But then there's just stuff where it's like, immediately after the Burj Khalifa scene, he chases the big like henchman dude into a sandstorm, and at one point pulls part of his face off, and it's revealed that it's actually the middle-aged Swedish guy that's been like, and it's like, I'm sorry, why? And also how? You know what I mean? Like his henchman's about a foot taller than him and built like a brick shithouse. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, and it's like, oh yeah, but this guy that like looks like, you know what I mean? Looks like he's about to. He looks like me basically. He's got my physique, and he's apparently like being chased by Tom Cruise into a sandstorm. Has he? I don't believe it for a second. Do you know what I mean? But it was just bizarre. But yeah, I mean, it was better than 5. And
fair enough.
So, but six was amazing. But I think the only reason 6 was so amazing was because they were allowed. Like everyone assumed it was going to be the final one. You know, you finish at 6. You've done 2 trilogies, and you just go, right, that's it, bin it off. So they were allowed to just do whatever the fuck they wanted. So whether or not that like creative freedom extends to 7 and 8, or whether they're just it's gonna be like an exercise in them futilely trying to bottle lightning, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
But not a time loop anyway, so let's like dredge yourselves back on
Yeah,
top.
very much not a time loop, yeah. But the whole point of a time loop is that you're supposed to diverge away from the thing that you're supposed to be focusing on for a while, and then you come back onto the loop. So, yeah,
it's true.
A good midpoint for the episodes. The other thing that I watched was the Netflix series Russian Doll.
Yes. That might genuinely be the best TV show I've ever watched.
That's fucking good. High praise, that.
I loved everything about that. It was fucking incredible. Would you agree?
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, yeah. It's very fucking... Not all over the place, but very varied in its tone.
Yeah.
But in a way that works,
absolutely.
like not in any sort of distracting kind of way. It really kind of funnels you in a certain direction and will like, purposely turn away from it and like to do things to you like it's good.
It's very funny, but then like it will just at the drop of a hat suddenly become incredibly dark.
Yeah.
And it's just so good. I mean, it's like fair to say it's a show about trauma, I think, yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so fucking good. But again, like, you know, like variations on the time loop thing. Because it's like, you know, ostensibly a comedy about a woman stuck in a time loop. But then, like, you know, there's someone else in the time loop with her, and they're linked somehow, and they've got to try and like figure out like what's going on, and how to save each other. And it's good. So.
Yeah, I don't even really want to talk about it too heavily in case people haven't seen it, because they should just go watch and enjoy that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not like that fucking shit with Mel Gibson in where I don't mind spoiling the ending, like, you know what I mean? Like, this you should definitely.
I haven't seen this, and I will actually want to watch this. So
yeah, you should definitely go and watch this if you haven't seen it. Like.
Because on your recommendation, I watched a little while ago, but I watched Daybreak with Taye Diggs, which is fucking incredible as well. That's a really, really proper, like, I mean, it's a time loop as well. He wakes up every day, same day. And so he's been made out to have killed somebody else. He's been framed in a murder plot. And every day that repeats, he discovers like more clues. But he keeps his memory of the previous loop. So it's incredibly, it's really good. I forget like how good that movie is. That series is. I always forget how good Taye Diggs can be as well if he puts his mind to it.
Yeah. He's very underutilized as an actor, I think. But I really enjoyed that. It is like you say, he pieces together the mystery more and more each day.
And for once, it's like a well done mystery as well. It's not like one of those ones where it's like there is a villain behind the curtain, but it's not so improbable at the end of the day that you just think, what the fuck are you on about? This is garbage. It's a good movie series. I don't know. I keep calling it a movie. The only thing that I very much dislike about it is that right at the end of the last episode, they do sort of set it up as like a hook for another season. You just think, fuck me, how many like time wormholes can one man fall in?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's good. I liked it. I especially liked, I think, the second episode where he just decides, like, fuck it, what if we just, like, got in the car and drove away?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then, like, there's people chasing them and he just, like, goes around a corner on this road and then gets out of the car, and as the like villains pursuing him come around the corner, he just unloads his gun into the car.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Just like, no fucking, like, yeah, fuck this. Just empties the entire fucking gun. And it's not like, you know what I mean? It's not often you see that like approach to marksmanship in like a fucking movie or TV. It was a thing I liked about what was it? Wind River, I think.
I can't remember.
You've made that up.
No, I think there is a movie.
It's a like a fucking crime thing with Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch. I think it's called Wind River.
Yeah. It is. It's one of the last Weinstein movies.
Oh well.
It also.
But it like that where like she's an FBI like a fairly junior FBI agent sent to a reservation to investigate a murder.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's like a local hunter or tracker or something, like he knows the terrain basically, so he helps her. And like he's like a fucking like master sniper and fucking hunter and everything and knows loads about guns. Her approach to like gunfights is to just fucking point the gun in someone's vague direction and like pull the trigger until it's empty. And it's like, do you know what I mean? I appreciate like it's how I imagine it's how I would handle a gun in a, you know what I mean? It's like, I've never learned to shoot, but like generally I find if you just wave it that way while like pulling the trigger repeatedly, you're bound to hit something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good movie though. That's very bleak and depressing, but it's very good.
Yeah, it is. Like it is.
Yeah,
it's very good. It's one of the fucking Punisher cameo extended universe films.
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah,
because there's a fucking shitload of films where they get that lad from the Punisher in for like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Well, he plays all the baddies. He gets blown away, I think, in the end.
No, he's not a baddie. He's like fucking.
Oh, I have.
He's one of the victims in that.
I have a different dude in mind then.
All right. Well, you know the dude that was the Punisher on Netflix.
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, it's him. He's one of the dead bodies they find in that. But you see him like for 2 minutes in the middle where they have the flashback that explains what happened.
Oh, and then it's not just a full on I was on the bill type thing.
And then like he's in Baby Driver at the start.
Yeah.
And then he leaves and he says like, if you don't see me again, I'm dead, and then never comes back. Do you know what I mean? And it's like he was in Widows for like the opening 5 minutes as well. Just the guy's just like clearly raking it in because people just go, what if we got this guy for 5 minutes? You know what I mean?
if he's on full wages and just like has to rock up for one scene to get his head blown off, that's a good deal.
Yeah. Maybe that's his time loop, you know what I mean? He just keeps doing like 5 minutes in 5 minutes in these fucking films where you think like, oh well, that was him, definitely.
Him and Frank Grillo do have like weirdly similar heads.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, absolutely.
Very long rectangular heads. So this is turning into a fucking calipers episode.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Get your phrenology kit out and let's get to the bottom of this, like.
I also watched, but you were disputing before we started whether or not it's a time loop movie, and I would pose that it is a time loop movie. I watched About Time, the Richard Curtis thing.
I haven't seen this, so I will need this explained.
Right, yeah, okay, yeah, that one might be. That might be a time loop film. I was arguing with you about this because I thought you meant In Time. With
no. That I haven't seen yet.
With the like tattoo that tells you when you're gonna die.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
That's...
Oh no, right, yeah, the Richard Curtis thing.
Fuck's sake, no.
If you think about it, us talking about In Time is a time loop.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I fully thought Rob was trying to bring sexy back. Do you know what I mean?
You can't do that again, I'm sorry, but no, I don't have the fucking mental fortitude or capacity to deal with that fucking film again.
Yeah, no, so yeah, I mean, if you watch the Richard Curtis thing, I mean, it's probably shit, but fill your boots, man.
But yeah, no, it's essentially is what happens if upper middle class twats could go into a cupboard, cleanse their hands, and then go back to the past. So they could seduce the same girl over and over and over again until it works.
Oh, right, yeah, I remember this now. It's got
Bill Nighy, which is good because he's always ace. He's just fucking class in everything he's in.
Yeah, but the main guy is the
lesser Gleason.
Yes,
Gleason the lesser. Domhnall, I think.
Yeah.
But the thing is, and this is the mistake that I referenced earlier, is they explain how time travel works in that universe, and then of course it makes no fucking sense whatsoever, because like the moment they start traveling in time, it never anything does it work out, because the first thing he says, well, can I go back, travel in time, and like pick the right lottery number to have a lot of money? And then Bill Nighy answers and says, have you ever met a happy lottery winner? And then the main character goes, no. And then Dad says, and that's right, and therefore you shouldn't get a lottery ticket. It's just like that. That seems a little bit fucking thin on the ground.
I mean, have you ever met a lottery winner?
No, this is also, I have not. I mean, I'm
sure there's plenty of people who like win the lottery and like you never hear about them. I mean, they just win the lottery and they're happy.
I've won a tenner. I don't know if does that count.
No,
I don't know. Are you happy?
No.
Yeah.
Presumably you were happy when you won the tenner.
Yeah,
I
felt a
You're fucking podcasting. You are not happy.
Have you ever met a happy lottery winner? Is such a fucking middle class question.
Well, I mean, it's the most middle class of movies. It's Richard Curtis.
The only correct way to become a millionaire is to write 4 weddings and a funeral. You know what I mean? If you win the lottery, you fucking cheat. And I can only assume that everyone ends up like one of those like fucking like weird yobbo families you hear about in all. Occasionally they go, oh, this yob won the lottery. Look at him in his string vest with like 6-pack of lager and a headband on, just like cavorting down the street with like, now he won the lottery, he's got a 60-pack of lager. You know what I mean? It's like, and string shoes to match his vest.
Yeah.
The extravagance.
This is like where they can go after people who's like, oh, look at this chav lottery winner who bought a big house and a big car. It's like, fuck you. It's like you all live in big houses with big cars and you're telling the whole world that's the lifestyle they should have, and then when the moment they win it, then it's wrong for some reason because it's a pleb.
Because do you know what I mean? Because like, how did like look at this big house and this big car that Richard Curtis has, right? And how do you think you achieve these things? Through Blairism.
But yeah, so essentially it's a very weird movie because it's only men are allowed to time travel, but then at some point he holds his sister's hands and then his sister can travel with him through time in the cupboard. Because like
what the fuck, like?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? How does he set that one up? Like here, grabs your sister by come and hold me hands in the cupboard.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he just says
So that's how it is in their family.
Well, I mean, it is presumably that kind of family because it's a Richard Curtis production. But I mean, the weirdest thing, one of the most annoying things about it is, and this is one of my personal pet peeves, is one of the scenes. Where he meets the love of his life that he has to seduce over and over and over again until he gets it right, is they go to a Don Le Noir restaurant. Do you guys know what that is?
Do you think I know what that is?
It's essentially a restaurant where they've turned off all the lights because if you can't see the food, it heightens your other...
fuck off, Heston.
Fucking hell.
And it has like one of that's just one of my least favorite restaurant concepts of all time.
It's because you can't see the plates, isn't it?
It's essentially one, because it just encourages lazy plating, for sure, yeah. For two, it just encourages people to tip shit in their lap, which is also just a thing that happens. And for three, it's like they're supposed to have this lovely meeting because it's in the dark and they can't see each other. And then, instead of going back to the restaurant to pick up his girlfriend, he helps his uncle or something, and then forgets to go back in time, and then he can't do it again for reasons that are beyond stupid and can't be really well explained. It's just it's baffling. The most baffling.
What, and then the girlfriend's trapped forever in the dark restaurant, like it's a fucking like it's the fucking forbidden zone or some shit, is it? Just hurtling through space forever in a darkened fucking restaurant. Like the villains from Superman 2.
No, she essentially leads like what is basically a normal linear life. It's just him who can literally go into a closet and squeeze his hands together to travel back in time. Apart from, you can't go back further in time than like certain important life events. So like he... What? Yeah, like he...
this is fucking... Like, his dad dies, right?
Yeah, well, this is the whole thing. Like, his...
Yeah, this is nailed on as soon as you said that. It's like, all right, yeah, and his dad dies in the film, and then he can't go back and see his dad anymore. No,
because it's like a...
You know what I mean?
Exactly, because it's like a question thing, because his dad dies after his daughter is born, and when he goes back to, like, save his dad or, like, give his dad a hug he goes back to before his daughter is born, and then when he goes forward, he has a son and not a daughter, because like the very small alteration, like a butterfly effect thing, means that like a different sperm hit the jackpot, and therefore he has a son and not a daughter.
Right.
How is this
Richard
about
Curtis
loops?
Richard Curtis is a fucking hack, and this isn't about time loops. This is about like time travel.
Yeah, this is very actively time travel and not loops.
Well, I mean, it is essentially a series of shorter loops.
No, that's just time travel. That's just straight time travel.
No, this is a completely different thing. This is the fuck around and hope not to find out version of time travel. It's not loops. A loop has to restart at the same point over and over. What you're describing is like the butterfly effect with that fucking that lad that
with Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah, I was gonna say that lad that fights human traffickers.
He's a Bitcoin investor as well.
And fair play to him, like, but yeah, like there's that where he keeps like going back in time and having nosebleeds on different objects to see if it'll like fix the future, and it never does. Or that Simpsons Halloween episode where Homer like keeps fucking up like what the future is by going back and stepping on dinosaurs and shit. That's what you're describing here. It's not time loops. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's definitely not a loop.
But while we're on the subject, Richard Curtis fucking sucks.
The weird thing is...
this is fucking doing me in. I need to find out who the fuck Domhnall Gleeson is, because that name's ringing a bell and I can't put a face to him.
General Hux.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. He's not terrible.
He was probably in Harry Potter as well. I feel comfortable saying.
I think he was. He was in... He's
just got that sort of look
about him. He was in Harry Potter
what's the
movies.
robot film called? The robot...
Ex Machina.
They make the robot and then they fuck it. Ex Machina, yeah.
That's a very good movie, though.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, you should. That's very good.
That is a very good film.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I did put it on my Netflix watch list about 6 years ago. So, you know, good things will come to those who wait.
Did you know, by the way, that General Hux's first name was Armitage, which is amazing?
Fuck.
Well, I do now. That genuinely sounds like a toilet.
On the other hand, like he's also in the what's his face? The Lesser Gleeson is also in.
Do you know my favorite thing about him in the fucking Star Wars films was those like that screenshot from the badly translated like pirated Chinese version where I don't even know what the fuck his line is in the English version, but in the like translation. Like the twice translated pirate copy, he's saying, "Finally, this is our chance to eliminate sex."
He absolutely looks perfectly the guy for that line as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
fucking amazing. Oh.
He was in. I'll tell you a good film he was in. And I can't remember the name of it, so I'll not tell you the name of the good film. You'll have to figure that out for yourselves.
Yes, the Voyage of Discovery.
Like the fucking Riddler. Do you know what I mean?
Interactive storytelling here, folks.
He was in a film with Michael Fassbender, where Michael Fassbender had a big paper mache head.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, it was Assassin's Creed. That was the one. No, it's like Michael Fassbender's like, you know that fucking guy with the big like paper mache head from the 90s or whatever.
Yeah, I know the name of the movie you're talking about. But I'm going to leave it to our listeners.
You know who I mean. Right, well, he's like that guy, basically, essentially, and he's in a band, and they're playing a gig in like the town where like fucking the lad lives, and they need a replacement keyboardist or something, because there's like I don't know.
Is this a Donnie Darko sequel?
Probably. It's similar to that. It has that sort of vibe.
Oh, so I hate that.
They get the lad in to join the band, and then he goes on tour with them, and like they can't get like Michael Fassbender to take off the big paper mache head because he like freaks out. He needs it as like to protect him from the world. And it's just like, you know what I mean? It's just a film about a bunch of weird shit that happens. Also, it's incredible for me that they cast Michael Fassbender and you don't see his face the whole film. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just such a fuck you to the concept of like hiring a star. You know what I mean? But yeah, I really enjoyed that. Like, maybe called. Does that ring a bell?
Damn, we were not going to do this. We were going to leave it to the listener to find that out.
Well, you can fucking cut that if you want. Like, just beep that bit. You know what I
mean? Yeah, fuck you. The listener, fuck you. Have we got any other time loop things that we've watched on, in mind then? Because I've basically exhausted it. I can't think of anything else with a time loop in it.
I did think of something while we were in the middle of like talking about something else there, but it escaped.
Oh fuck me! Rachel McAdams was in more time travel movies. She was in the Time Traveler's Wife, of course. You know,
also expressly not a loop film.
Well, it says Time Traveler. I suppose that does give the game away a little bit.
I suppose you could argue in a way that Arrival's a time loop film, but like,
Arrival is so good,
isn't it? Like.
Yeah,
it's only a time loop in the way that, if you assume that free will doesn't exist, then it's loops.
Well, it doesn't. It's all predestination.
I mean, well, maybe, if that's the case. I mean, the film heavily fucking hints that it is. So, but yeah, Arrival's such a fucking good film. I love that film.
Yeah, Arrival is so fucking good. And it has Hawkeye in it again.
It does, yeah.
Every time I see
he gets everywhere. Him like
every time I see
he's like sand.
Because I want to dislike him more than I want to dislike Hawkeye more than I do, and that's really annoying.
No, he just turns up and is the everyman and everything, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like just fucking. It's like, here's Hawkeye again. Just being himself. We just hired him because we knew what we'd get. Just fucking there he is. Good old dependable fucking Renner with his like social media app. The Matt Hancock of Hollywood.
I get told to watch that Happy Death Day, but I never got around to it.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. Very annoyed that it wasn't called Groundhog Day. But yeah, that looked interesting, but you know what I mean? It's like, would it be good? Because horror films are just so fucking like so all over the place.
Yeah,
it seemed like it could be great, but whether it is or not,
I think it's played more as a comedy, which like obviously a time loop does kind of lend itself fairly well to.
Yeah. But yeah, that looked quite interesting, and they made a sequel apparently.
They did, yeah. Speaking of sequels, there's going to be a season 2 of Russian Doll, so I don't know how the fuck they're going to do that.
I don't know how the fuck they're going to do that, but I am very hyped for it. Like,
yes,
because that first season was just so fucking good, just so insanely fucking like good. Really, you know what I mean? It was just there's not enough truly fucking like incredible television, really.
No.
Like, for all we're living in the golden age of TV, a lot of it is
it's pretty fucking mediocre.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, we renewed Netflix a little while ago, and like, you're just sort of leafing through. You're just thinking, it's still pretty shit, actually. Like, this fucking... There's just...
Yeah, Netflix, I barely ever fucking watch anything on Netflix now unless I've, like, decided, I really want to watch this, and I look it up and find out it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
The missus watches a lot of stuff on Netflix, and it is almost all complete shite, as far as I can gather.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But Netflix, for me, if I sit down and I go, we'll watch something, what do we want to watch? We don't know. Let's browse Netflix. That's it. That's me for 2 hours. Do you know what I mean?
It's a quality way to kill a bit of time and achieve nothing at all.
Yeah. They've got a new feature on there where you just have it pick something for you. And
I'm not brave enough to click that.
Yeah, I guarantee you I'm gonna argue with whatever it picks. Like, I am, especially because
that doesn't sound like you at all.
Well, I mean, because the wife like fucking uses like the same Netflix account as me, so the recommendations are fucked.
Netflix is just for watching Star Trek or The Office when I'm bored, like, and need something on in the background. That's pretty much all it's there for me.
Yeah, and also like fucking, do you know what I mean? The thing with Netflix is, it's like when they do make a good show, they just fucking like
they just kill it. Yeah, fuck.
Yeah, that's a time loop actually. Is Netflix's treatment of good shows? Because that always like, you know what I mean? They go, he's a really good show. Everyone's like, have you watched this? You should really watch this. It's really good. And you go, is it on Netflix? And they go, yeah. Well, I know how that ends. You know what I mean? But you know, like, obviously they can't afford to like pay fucking like people, you know, like pay people actually at the going rate to film like a third or a fourth season of something really, really good, when they could be spunking like $11 million at the wall on Ricky Gervais or some shit. You know what I mean? Or David fucking Chappelle.
Yeah, that's it. Here's an aging comedian with opinions.
Yeah,
I saw that fucking clown today, like in a filled out stadium on his fucking Netflix special, going, I'm being cancelled. Like, fuck you, you over. Plus, he looked drunk to shit. Like, just I just wanted to say, fuck you, Dave Chappelle. That's essentially what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
That's Phil. Not undeserved in the slightest. I'm scrolling through Google just now, looking to see if there's any other time loop films that I've seen and forgot about.
Well, you would.
Doctor Strange counts.
Does it? Oh yeah, well, it has a time loop in it.
Yeah, there's a time loop in it. Yeah. Don't really have anything to say about that though.
That's the Marvel one, right? With Benedict.
Yeah.
That's quite good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that one.
It wasn't terrible. The best part about it is the fucking like really, really concerted effort of him to keep up whatever fucking accent it is that he's.
Yeah.
The film. It's like, not quite sure what he's going for with it, but like he managed to keep it up, so fair play.
Yeah. I mean, I just dislike people doing accents in films. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, I mean, I watched Doctor Strange, and I just put, like, honestly, like, if no one else had ever brought it up, I wouldn't have ever fucking, like, thought about the accent he was doing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know enough about the continental United States to say with any kind of authority whether there is or isn't a fucking place where people sound like that. You know? It's a big place, so maybe.
As far as I'm concerned with accents, all I care about is that nobody sounds like they're using an accent like mine. I just don't want to hear my fucking accent in a film because it just takes me right out of it.
Obviously, it's very distracting if someone's like fucking half-arsed in a Geordie accent. That fucking, do you know what I mean? That's just incredibly distracting. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but there's an episode of The Blacklist where the villain had a fucking Geordie henchman, and like it was fine. The guy sounded like perfectly normal, and I was like, okay, yeah, cool, that's all right. But then there was a bit where they had him call the fucking, like, the main woman Love, and that was just like fucking, like someone had just like fucking, do you know what I mean, like dropped a glass. I was like, ooh, that does not sound right at all. Do you know what I mean? But presumably it would just be weird, like if you weren't familiar with the accent, it would just be weird for him to call a pet. You know what I mean?
Aye.
So instead he was just like, oh, like, there you are, Love, and I was just like, oh, that sounds so weird. That sounds
I've still
wrong.
not recovered from The Force Awakens.
Oh, with fucking
with like fucking like Jam Jar Club or whatever the fuck they were called.
Aye, that fucking took me right out of that film. I was fucking raging.
Fuck, what the fuck was that? I mean, what the fuck is like Abrams doing? You know what I mean?
Just a purveyor of bad vibes.
Yeah, but it was just so weird. It was like, oh, what if we like, right? So they're on this big freighter. It's like, okay, why are they on this big freighter? Oh, they've got these like angry meatballs. What if the angry meatballs got out and chased everyone? It's like, what? It was basically like, I think you watched like fucking fairly niche Stephen King adaptation, The Langoliers, and thought, oh, no cunt will remember that. We'll just steal their monsters. I don't know if anyone else remembers The Langoliers.
Vaguely, yeah. That, I can't remember
it's like
what it is.
There's some people on a plane, and they're all like the plane's like flying across America, and then like everyone who's not asleep like vanishes, and so like the people who are asleep don't get like picked up by the fucking like, you know what I mean, the magic that's like doing whatever, and they wake up and they're in like the time has moved on without them, and they're trapped in like the fucking like, you know what I mean? Like it's so weird. It's like the new day started, and it like left them behind.
Yeah, I mean, the most I remember about it was that it's essentially like sort of just mouse with teeth in space or outside the plane.
Yeah, and they land and they have to figure out how to get back into the air and catch up with the real time before the fucking like angry meatballs from The Force Awakens eat them all. It's from that like fucking that golden age where like every fucking 20 minutes someone made a Stephen King adaptation and 99.9% of them were shite. And like, do you know what I mean? When Stephen King was still like fucking like angry enough to like care and sue people to get his name taken, that was like literally all he did for like 20 years was just sue filmmakers. Like fucking, although why you would ever get his name taken off The Running Man is a mystery to me, because that like stands as one of the greatest American satires as far as I'm concerned. Like, it's nothing like the book, right? I'll grant you that. It's absolutely fuck all like the book. The book is fairly serious and also predicts 9/11.
And also does 9/11.
Yeah, the guy flies a fucking hijacks a plane and flies it into the fucking TV station's like skyscraper at the end. Whereas the film is just like, it's an absolute fever dream, but it's fucking great. You know what I mean? I love The Running Man. And people go, oh, it's too ridiculous. It's like, no, it isn't. You know what I mean? it's being like, the best part is like, they have their, like, The Running Man, everyone goes like, oh, look at the fucking bit where they, like, fake his death by, like, just getting someone else to act it out and then, like, superimposing it. Just deep fakes. They predicted deep fakes, like, 30 years, like, ahead of time. Do you know what I mean? And it seemed like this insane, like, far-fetched thing. And yet, like, here we are. It's just fucking, but it's so ridiculous. It seems, at first, so, like, childish and over the top that you think, well, This is insane. You would never like be able to sustain a society where like it was this like, you know what I mean, the level of like the level of lie being told was this ridiculous, and it's like, yeah, well, you know what I mean.
Here we are.
Look at us now. Yeah. I guess we all owe Starsky from Starsky and Hutch an apology.
Oh fuck me! That also had Running Man also had Jesse Ventura in it. Speaking of things to come, what a great man.
Oh yeah, fucking! It's just such a good film. You know what I mean? Like it's not. That's the weird thing. It's like it's always weird to me, like, to remember that's directed by Starsky from Starsky and Hutch, because it feels very much of a piece. Like you could tell someone it was one of Arnie's Paul Verhoeven. It was one of Paul Verhoeven's films. Do you know what I mean? You could tell someone that, and they would believe you, because it does have that same sort of like ridiculous, like, America is a fucking circus vibe. You know what I mean? That, like, RoboCop and Total Recall and
Starship Troopers.
Yeah, that they all have.
That's such a great movie. I watched that again the other day. That's so fucking good.
Well, you think it's good now? Wait till the remake.
Oh,
They can't get off the ground because they want to they want to do a remake, but they want to do a remake that treats the material straight, and it's like, yeah, good luck with that, like. But you know, they managed to absolutely fucking destroy RoboCop and Total Recall by remaking them. So you know, maybe they'll get there. Maybe
they'll get the band back together and bring Colin Farrell back from the dead or something to do another acting performance.
Oh, hey, I like Colin Farrell. Leave him alone. You know what I mean? He's just out here doing his best and swearing a lot. You know what I mean? I can relate to that.
He in a way, he too is a podcaster.
Oh, speaking of films, time loop one specifically with fucking dead performances, Looper.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like a time loop in the abstract, isn't it?
I think so. I haven't seen it again. This is another one I was told, like, probably watch this. And then
you haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I assume that it's an easy assumption because it's a later Bruce Willis film that he's just phoning it in. But I was told that it's fine. They wrote it around him phoning it in by giving him a part that just doesn't really require much acting.
It's a weird film, Looper, but it's fucking good because it's Ryan Johnson, and Ryan Johnson I don't think there's a Ryan Johnson film I don't like, because like fucking Brick was good, which I haven't seen it for ages, but I like that, like a fucking like noir thing, but set with like teenagers in high school or whatever. And then
Knives Out.
did that thing. Knives Out obviously is good. Last Jedi's like good.
Mm-hmm.
Looper's good. And he did that thing with Adrian Brody, where they're the fucking magicians that like do con artist stuff or something.
Oh right, okay.
The brothers something, but I can't think of the brothers what.
Karamazov.
Yeah, it's probably that. It seems like a safe bet, like. But yeah, Looper's great. Like, it's a time loop in the abstract, because it's like the idea is you have these hitmen in the present day. Like, time travel's been invented in the future, and so organized crime has sent Jeff Daniels back to like fucking like oversee crime in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And in the future, like fucking Gary Sinise and the CSI New York lads are just too good, so they have to disappear bodies by sending them back in time. And so Jeff Daniels will like tell fucking some guy, "Oh, you've got to go here and kill this bloke," and they go to like a field and they just wait there with a shotgun, and then a guy appears in front of them and they just blow a hole in them and bury him.
And so the guy will have outsourcing then.
Yeah, and the guy like have a bunch of gold bars strapped to his back that you then like take as payment for killing him and like getting rid of the body. And like you're a looper if you do that, like, because you're like, you know what I mean, you're fucking up like with time, and eventually yourself comes back in time and you have to kill yourself.
Why would you do such a thing?
Because that's how they get rid of like the evidence in the future.
Yeah,
but know about all the bodies that you've buried, so they have to send, like, when you're old, they send you back to be killed, so that Gary Sinise can't like fucking pickle your brain and like work out where all the bodies are by like shining a torch through your brain to fucking project on the wall or whatever the fuck they do in CSI New York. You know what I mean? But
it's not so much a loop as a predestination thing, then.
Yes.
Yeah, kinda. But like
I am going to turn into a Calvinist one day, just for fun.
Don John, what you call him?
That guy. You know, yeah, let's just call him Don John. I know who you mean.
Yeah, he fucking he's young Bruce Willis.
He's also the younger brother of the Punisher, or at least he looks like one.
What? What, in the film or in
just in real life in general?
Okay, all right, fair enough. Okay, we're back to like fucking Caliper time, are we?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Thank you.
Yes, him, right? Yeah, so like fucking Punisher Jr. He's young Bruce Willis, and they send Bruce Willis back, and like Bruce Willis is Bruce Willis, and you can't kill Bruce Willis, so like he fucking escapes, and like fucking goes on the run, and like Joseph Gordon-Levitt has to try and find him and kill him, and it's like pretty good. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those films where it's like, oh, it's a crime film, and also there's like some weird sci-fi shit involved.
Yeah.
And we're not going to focus like too heavy. We're just going to take all the sci-fi shit as given. You know what I mean? We're not.
Okay.
not going to focus too much on it. It's more about like how the fucking characters behave, which is I don't know if anyone remembers this fucking film, but it quite reminded me of Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man.
What?
Oh.
Which is a cyberpunk crime thriller from the late 90s, starring Don Johnson and
Not Don John.
and Mickey Rourke.
I think so. Yeah, I think that was them. Yeah, I think so.
And they have to fight like fucking cyber yakuza in like America or some shit. It's just, I haven't seen that since the 90s, but I should really fucking find a copy of that and watch it again, to be honest, like, because that was I remember that being quite good. You know what I mean? It was the late 90s were like, there was quite a few decent like cyberpunk ish films come out, you know, like near future stuff. Because there was that thing that the thing with Ray Fiennes about the fucking where you put the hairnet on and it lets people read your brain. It's like, it was set in like 1999 and it was like near the end of the millennium, and he's got like Ray Fiennes as a guy. You've got this like weird hairnet thing. You put it on and it like records what you see and feel, and then someone else can put the hairnet on and like relive what you fucking felt.
Oh, right,
and,
okay.
I'm pretty sure it was Catherine Bigelow directed it. Like,
Jesus.
Strange Days. Yeah, that was quite good, but then like the millennium came and went, and everyone realized that like life in like the 2000s was just the same as before, but shitter.
Yeah,
and, like, people just stopped making near future like sci-fi stuff. You know what I mean? People just got disillusioned with the concept of like the future, because we arrived and we still don't have jetpacks or like hairnets that read your brain. But it did predict Tom Sizemore like beating up women, so I suppose it wasn't entirely without its like futuristic prophecies.
Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, okay. Well, I don't really know if we've got anything left to go over. I'm pretty sure we've covered everything that we were going to cover, plus a few fucking digressions.
Oh yeah, we've been all over the fucking place here, haven't we? You know what I mean?
Big time. This is what happens when we don't really fucking prep any content beyond I'll watch some stuff.
Yeah, the big problem was I prepped for a different podcast. Like, so, you know what I mean? All I can think of, I've been struggling, struggling not to talk about
whole episode long.
Not to talk about the fucking like film I just watched, like most recently, or Chernobyl, because I just watched that with my mum. So
all quality.
Yeah, that's a good fucking show. You know,
that's a fucking incredible show. It's probably my favourite Jared Harris thing.
Yeah, we should do a cultural committee on like prestige television, I think.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Because that's a fucking wide net to cast, you know what I mean? And
it is. Yeah, definitely. Cool. Can't wait to talk about Game of Thrones.
Oh, fuck me. Yeah.
Game of fucking Thrones, man. Just fucking what a pile of shit that show was.
That was just incredible. Like, really.
I thought the ending was great, because like I watched all of Game of Thrones with the missus. And like I didn't not enjoy like watching it. Like, some of the fucking performances were really, like, they had a lot of really good actors on that show, and they did a lot of like really good acting, but I could not fucking care about any of it at all. You know what I mean? So like, it was just like fucking, and then this guy gets like stabbed, and I'm like, okay, right, great. And then like you think this guy's gonna like be like the protagonist, but he got stabbed. I'm like, all right, grand, yeah. Does anyone not get stabbed? No, they all get stabbed. It's fucking mint. It's the best thing ever, because like everyone gets stabbed. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, grand.
Yeah,
you know
it's also everybody just goes, oh, that's the most unique thing I've ever seen. The protagonist dies. It's like,
yeah, it's amazing, like, you know what I mean? So it's the best show ever because everyone gets stabbed.
Yeah,
like, wow, grand.
But, I mean, the best / worst
so
things.
It was incredibly gratifying for the ending to be so shit that everyone retroactively hated the entire fucking like show, and I was proven right. You know what I mean? I was like, that was cool. Glad, just standing there at the finish line waiting for it, like tap me watch, going, what the fuck took you so long? You know what I mean?
The most astonishing thing is the fucking ending of the whole series, where literally, like, one of the last remaining. It's
no.
What?
No, I know you're going to say like, it's because like the fucking what's most important is stories.
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah, right. No, the best fucking thing is when like fucking Knife Girl McGraw, you know, her that like fucking trained to be like a stabbing woman for like the whole series, and then didn't. Yeah, and then didn't kill fucking what's her name at the end.
Yeah.
when she goes like fucking, I know a killer when I see one. And it's like, do you? You know what I mean? Immediately after, Dragon Girl's just like torched like 40 million people or whatever in that. You know what I mean? She's like raised an entire city personally, and then like fucking like world's greatest detective over here goes, I know a killer when I see one. It's like, fuck me, holy shit! Batman's got a fucking challenger in the house. Like, you know what I mean? How did you fucking like what monastery did you have to like study at to figure out that? Fuck me. Absolutely incredible, like, you know what I mean?
All right. Okay, then we're locked in.
They'll let literally anyone write television. Do you know what I mean? It's fucking great.
Yeah, and then they'll let them write a Star Wars trilogy, and then
take them off it. They took them off that, right?
They did, yeah.
I think so, yeah. I think they took them off everything after Game of Thrones. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they fucked up Game of Thrones, and like precisely because they had the Star Wars trilogy, and then they fucked it up so badly they fucking lost the trilogy, which is great.
Oh, they were also gonna do that like fucking Confederacy or whatever it was.
Oh fuck!
You know, like man in the fucking big house. What was that? What was that Nazi thing called?
Man in the High Tower. High Castle.
Yeah, Man in the High Castle, but for the Civil War.
Oh Christ!
You know what I mean? It's like, imagine if like the fucking Civil War, like, what if the South was still around? Yeah, can you imagine? You know what I mean? What if America was run by racists? Fuck me, steady on there, mate. Like, do you know what I mean? I've only got so much imagination to go around. That was the same thing with like Man in the High Castle. It's like, oh, what if the Nazis had won the war? It's like, maybe don't sound quite so fucking keen about that, like, you know what I mean? What if the Nazis were still around today? Like, yeah.
On the other hand, that does have Rufus Sewell, who is fucking great, and I always like it when I see his face.
I don't know. I watched the first episode and thought it was shit, so I never went back.
It's pretty shit, but he plays a very entertaining Nazi. It's such as it goes.
Tell you what. Rather than fucking continue this on and make this like a kind of
Man in the High Castle has time travel though, so
we're just going to call it, but not loops. And actually, it's arguably not time travel. But yeah, so we're just going to fucking call it there, shall we? And we'll talk about fucking Prestige TV on the next Cultural Committee episode, whenever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can wing that one much more effectively because, like, you know what I mean?
There's more to be mad at.
We all did the homework for this fucking episode. Jesus Christ, like, you know.
I managed to watch a lot in the last 24 hours of you.
Yeah. I mean, do you know what I mean? It's like we just rolled it up and hang around Alistair's neck. He watched all of the stuff in prepreparation and then couldn't be here. So really, blame him. Just at him.
Yeah, at Alistair. If you don't like this, then it's his fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very true. Anyway, yeah. So we will catch you. We will catch you next week for another either, I think, regular or a guest episode. We'll see what's happening there.
Yeah, we'll see what's happening.
Yeah. We'll ask an adult what the fuck we're doing. Presumably they'll tell us, you know what I mean?
We don't fucking know. This isn't professional.
This is what happens when you ostensibly let me plan an episode, isn't it? You know what I mean? We'll do time loops. Like, okay, we don't any preparation for that. I don't fucking know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
when I wake up tomorrow and it's Tuesday again, we'll try harder.
Yeah.
Maybe I've gone through this day 1,000 fucking times already, and this was the best we could do. Isn't that a depressing thought? You know what I mean?
I fucking hope so, because it's going to save me having to edit the bastard.
Maybe the listeners have listened to this podcast 1,000 times already, and they're all individually trying to escape this podcast.
God help you, listen to the other material, it's better. Right, on the note of other material though, the bonus episode for October is now out on the Patreon feed, so if you want that, patreon.com/praxiscast.
Yeah, we talk about Britain in space, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's not amazing, it's fucking annoying and horrifying, and it's just too fucking British. It's disgustingly British.
Yeah, but we planned that episode though. You know what I mean?
We did plan it, yeah. So if you didn't like this, you'll enjoy that. So yeah.
If you didn't like this, fuck you. You didn't pay to get in. So shut up, you bastards.
Yeah, and if you didn't like the bonus, then you do like this.
Yeah. So sorry for the bad recommendation.
Or the good recommendation.
I don't care. Fuck off. Go away. Episode over.
Bye.
Yeah. See ya.
Well, that was suddenly something.